vows. In the name of peace we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Waleed Basyouni, and I would like to welcome you to a new episode of Heroic or Heretic. We've been talking about the extreme modern jihadi groups today and their ideologies. In the last episode, we were talking about how they think, kind of analyzing their way of thinking, kind of getting into their brain and their, seeing their personalities. And one of the things that we noticed about them, that they have very contradicting personalities. Like, they claim something, but they practice and preach the absolute opposite. For example, these groups want to spread the Sharia of Islam. That's right. Yeah. They always claim we want to apply the Sharia on the earth. The Sharia that came as a mercy to mankind. The Sharia that brings justice. The Sharia that brings mercy and love and harmony. That's right. The Sharia that builds civilization. But look at their actions, far away from that. What they bring into humanity is nothing but fear, terror, nothing but blood, nothing but distractions to every good in the past by destroying all our heritage as human beings and also our future. There is nothing really from what they claim they want to apply exists. You know, how can you claim that your goal is to show the honor and the izzah and the justice of Islam, and you yourself not fair and just with your own people, the Muslims and the non-Muslim as well? Yes, Omar.
Yeah. Well, one of the strange points that I find.
Ahmed, sorry.
No problem. One of the strange points that I find in the way these people think, they live in a pathetic life of a lot of contradictions. For example, they criticize. They always criticize the West, which is their original home. They always criticize it, and they see it like the home of all evils. But at the same time, they live on the welfare of.
They are themselves living in the West.
Yeah.
I have a sister, or I had an incident where a sister came to me. She said to me that her father, one of these extremist guys who lived in Peshawar at that time in Afghanistan, and she's almost like not practicing much of Islam anymore, unfortunately. So one of the things that she told me about her father, she said, I saw my father when he was 11 or 12 years old with my own eyes, telling a group of young Muslims in Afghanistan, now we are Muslim, we are in jihad, and he asked everybody to take their passports out, they burn it, shoot it with the Kalashnikov, and they destroy it. Now we are nothing but Muslim, nothing but one ummah, and every Allahu Akbar, takbir, and stuff like that. And she's saying, I know my father have a British passport. That's at least one passport I know. And it is, she said that when I told my father, how come that you do that and you have another passport? Okay? And she said, when I told him that, he said, yes, I'm a leader, circumstances can be different than just soldier. A very hypocritical way. Well, I'm not sure if it's a British or other passport now, but you need something like Western countries' passport. She said, at that moment, I just lost all respect for my father. And I just have nothing to do with him. I cut my relationship with him for years. I don't know even he's alive or not. She said, I have nothing to do with the religion. The experience with the religion was very ugly. And she told me how he put her to marriage when she was 12 or 13 years old. To one of his lieutenant, whatever. So it's a very contradicting life. And, and you can say, they always say, obey the emir, obey this. But they first want to tell you, disobey your parents. Look at the difference between this and when the Prophet ﷺ, a man came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to join you in the army. He said, what about your parents? He said, they were crying. I left them crying because I left them. Then the Prophet ﷺ, go back, make them laugh as you made them cry.
Subhanallah.
What a different picture. You know, always they quote ulama like Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen or Sheikh bin Baz, but they don't accept the methodology of Ibn Uthaymeen ibn Baz. They are the first one to make takfir to the Saudi government, as well as Muhammad Ibrahim, you know, as well as Ahmed Shakir. He never did takfir to the Egyptian government at that time. He's a loyal person, loyal scholar to his country. And there's a contradiction, pick and choose. That's how they work. It's a contradiction. Can you imagine? This is the personality of those people for a long time ago. Ibn Abi Layla, who killed Uthman radiallahu anh, he stabbed Uthman 9 times. When he stabbed him 3 times, he said, هذه لله وست لما في الصدور. 3 for the sake of Allah and 6 for what I have in my heart against you. How can it be for Allah? That's a contradicting statement. You know, it is unbelievable how they wish ill that everybody to be killed and destroyed. They don't have, like the point Ahmed mentioned, or Umar mentioned, I think, earlier. They don't have that love for people to be Muslim, love for people to accept Islam. They don't go with the message of وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. They think of themselves, we've been sent as a punisher for the world. You know, and that's how they are. One of the things also I noticed that these groups are very much affected by the leader. Even through the history. All the Khawarij is named after their leaders. Firqat al-Azariqah, al-Ibadiyya, all after the leader. When he's charismatic, he's a strong leader, very good in speaking skills, people get to follow them. And that's why many of their leaders, not necessarily to be religious or scholarly level, but they have a good charisma, and that's what they look for. One thing I notice about these guys as well, many of them cannot fit in the society. They could not find a role to play in the society. So what they escape their failure in the society by joining these extreme groups. He cannot build a balance in his life. So what he does, or what she does, she starts running away from this reality to go live in this world, thinking that this is the ideal world. And that's basically not necessarily motivated by true belief in it, but it's motivated by failure in their life. I could not make any change in my society, so I run away from it. And that's what I found in many of them. And basically they cover their failure by the name of jihad and qital and, you know, hijrah and things of that nature. One thing you see it in their personality. They don't have any loyalty to anything almost in their life, to their country, to their society, to their ethnicity. And they consider this a form of shirk and kufr and wathaniya, that you be proud to be, for example, an Egyptian or a Jordanian, or to be proud to be a French, or be proud to be an American. And they consider this as something so evil and wrong. They don't believe in nationalism. They don't believe in any form of it. You know, as Muslim, and this is important because some Muslims even sometimes feel it is not allowed for me to feel proud of my country. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam looked at Mecca, and Mecca was not a Muslim country. It was a kafir country. And he said at that time, إِنَّكِ لَمِنْ أَحَبِّ بِلَادِ اللَّهِ إِلَيْهِ. You're the most beloved country to me. You know, Bilal al-Habashi. Habasha was not a Muslim country. Al-Rumi was not a Muslim country. But he still kept that identity. That there's no contradiction, as I said before, between being a Muslim, being from this country or that country. The concept of nationalism, a new concept, was not exist before, by the way. It mainly happened and became very popular after the World War I. That became very clear that countries divided into that way it is today, politically divided. But my point is that sense of loyalty to something, to your tribe, Al-Khazraj, Al-Ansar, you know, Quraysh, it is tribes, something will be always accepted in Islam, was not a wathan, is not haram. In the same concept today, I'm an Egyptian, I'm a Libyan, I am a Tunisian. It doesn't mean that I'm not Muslim. No, it means that I'm loyal to this political entity, that I'm part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be part of it. And I love it. And it doesn't mean I will be unfair to others. But I have this love. This concept is not exist under mine. One thing also, it's a problematic, which is, I call it al-haddiyya, which is go to the two extreme. It's either a 0 or 100. You didn't know how to settle with 50 or 60 or 30. It's either I do everything correct or everything is evil. That's why a lot of people who go to the jihadi groups, if they leave them, they leave Islam completely. And they leave religious completely, they become non-religious person completely. The 180 degree. And that's an extreme way of seeing things. It's like I always say, some people, they either drink Zamzam or wine. And you can drink tea. It doesn't need to be Zamzam, it doesn't need to be wine. Yeah, and not 100% or 0. Also, part of this hadiyah is narrow-minded, not the big angle, but very narrow. He limits himself and his view in a very limited way. He sees whole entire religion through one issue. He sees the political scene in one issue. He sees the future from one narrow angle. And that's very dangerous. In just thinking this way can be a very big problematic. Like for example, they will say, what is your opinion of this person? And that's how he judge you. You know this lady I told you about earlier, about her father?
Yeah.
Actually, she asked me, I asked her if I can talk to your father because she wants to get married. I need a permission to be your wali. Anyway, so I remember managed to call him on the phone. She called me on the phone, it's her cell phone. Then I said, would you give me permission to be the wali of your daughter? Then he said, are you Muslim? I said, I'm the sheikh, what's Muslim? He said, what do you believe in Sheikh bin Baz?
Wow.
He asked me this, what do you think of King Fahd at that time? I said, King Fahd is a Muslim or not? I said, he's a Muslim. He said, so you are not a Muslim.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So I told him, and you're not her wali, and I hang up. Because he cannot be her wali and with his views.
Yes.
And I just let her get married without his permission, because that's wackos. This is like completely insane. So when you see that, that's a very narrow way to judge person through what he believes of that king or that president, or that's a wrong way of thinking. You cannot see the whole world or the whole entire scene through a very narrow angle like that. And this is something very common in the jihadist group. They only see Islam through jihad. And not jihad, through fighting. Which is one of the meaning of jihad. No solution except through fighting. And this is something I hope that we be very careful for it, because sometimes even if you're not part of this group, but if you start thinking like them, it can be dangerous. Anyway, let's take a break, and looking forward to continue this discussion after the break. Stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.
Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace.
If you're looking for a book to read that's going to give you what you need,
ورتل القرآن ترتيلا
ورتل القرآن ترتيلا.
Read and recite Quran as you should read it and recite it. Join me, my dear viewers, for this beautiful program of Quran for kids. In this program, we will get the chance to read some sections of the Quran and get a little bit of tafsir and interpretation of that section, and we will get the chance to ask questions and learn lessons. All of that in Quran for kids. Please join me.
when you put it in your heart, I think you're gonna say,
I love Quran.
first you gotta read it, then you understand it, then you wanna say,
I love Quran.
when you understand it.
Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace.
Welcome back to Heroic or Heretic. We will be, inshallah, from now on talking about some of the most common justifications or principles that they used to justify their actions. What's the doubts that they raised and the issue that they raised to justify the terrorist act that they do against Muslim and non-Muslims alike. And this will be a lot of academic discussions in it, inshallah ta'ala. So I hope it will be very interesting to go over it. And at first point, it's very clear that they consider all Muslims and Arab governments to be a kafir. That's one of the first things that they do. And one of the very, very clear thing that they have, that they consider any government that exists today in the Muslim world as a non-Muslim government, and they are upstate, they're kuffar, they're murtaddeen, they're tawaghit, and almost all the jihadist group, Qaeda, ISIS, you name it, they agree on that. And this is one of the most common principles that they have. And they consider them kuffar because of many reasons, like dealing with riba, interest, in jail, putting in prisons, du'at or Muslims, activists, they have wala to the non-Muslims and stuff like that, fighting the mujahideen and so forth. And this takfir, this claiming that they are kuffar or non-Muslims and they left the state of Islam, not to go to one branch in the government, actually the three branches of the government. Legislative branch, so the parliament is kufr, voting is kufr, being part of it is considered an act of kufr, take you out of the fold of Islam. Also the executive branch, which is the president or the ministers, the government, the cabinet, is also kufr because they rule by the non-Islamic ruling. Then they have definitely the judicial system or branch is also for them completely out of Islam because they rule between people other than the Sharia and they legislate for the people with other than Islam. So that's why they believe that targeting any one of these branches or anyone belonging to these branches is a legit target. Also, as a result of that, that leads me to a second principle that they have. They consider the land of Muslim today is a land of kufr. And that's why they said you have to have hijrah. And that's exactly in their constitution in number 35 point, or the principle number 35 that they have in the ISIS, the state, the Islamic State. They said that because of this, every single treaty that's signed by the country with any other countries is invalid because these people who signed the treaty is not Muslims. So any treaty that you give to any country, we're not bind by it because this government and the people represented is non-Muslims. Based on that, any scholars or ulama that defend these countries, believe in the legitimacy of these countries, are hypocrites, are not scholars. So that's as a result of this. Okay? Anyone who pay taxes or carry the citizenship of these countries is part of that country. And that means it is allowed to target them, target their wealth, target their money, targeting their even women. One of my friends told me about an incident in Saudi Arabia. One of these Daesh guys was captured. So the judge was asking him, so we are all kuffar? He said, yes. He said, so everybody in this country is kuffar because they believe in the kingdom of Saudi Arabia? And he said, yes, and you, one of the first. Then he said, and our wealth, our women halal? He said, yes. He said, but do you know that your mom don't agree with you? And your sister don't agree with you? So would you, he said, and there is a day will come where people come from Iraq as to conquer Saudi Arabia, and they will purify this holy land from your kufr and your government. So the judge asked him, and when they come, would they take your mom and sister as prisoners? Because they're kuffar. Would they take them as, slave girls? He said, the Sharia applied to me and to others. Yes, I don't mind.
He's crazy.
That's how extreme that this can take. Because the asl, the principle is this. So based on that principle, everything else comes next. One of those principles also, that al-jihad and fighting is fardu ayn upon every Muslim. Obligatory upon every single Muslim in this time. to fight the murtaddeen, the upstate Muslim, the one who left Islam, and to the original kuffar. They believe, and pay attention to this, they believe al-jihad is a goal, not a mean. So for them, jihad is a goal, is not a mean. So if you don't practice jihad, and jihad, it means here fighting. So if you don't do it, that means something from your religion is missing. It's like if you don't pray, there is something missing. If you don't fight, something is missing. The fourth principle that I want to share with you about this group, that they believe that the non-Muslim, his kufr, being not Muslim, that's enough to make it lawful for anyone to kill him or to kill her. They said that al-kufr sabab istihlal al-dam. Al-kufr is the reason behind why those people's blood is lawful to spill. So there is no immunity for that person just because he's non-Muslim. And that's so dangerous. This is very wrong. And unfortunately, you might see some statement by some Muslim jurists can be easily misunderstood in this way. And I'm saying this because that's not what they meant. You know, or some ahadith they might quote to kind of give an indication that that's the asl, that's the default. The default is it's allowed to kill a non-Muslim. No, the default that every human being's blood is protected. Okay? And Muslim or non-Muslim, you can't just kill someone. And Nabi ﷺ didn't go and kill people. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't tell the companion, if you find any non-Muslim in the street or in the desert, just go kill him. That's not right and absolutely unacceptable. One of their principles that I think number 5, I would say, that they have this idea that al-jihad, the only one can give fatwas, the only one can talk about al-jihad, and you listen to, are the ulama who are in the battlefield. But any sheikh who is like in a studio or in an office or in his library, you cannot trust. They said, ulama al-thughur, they are the one who give the fatwa. And we will talk about this as well. So these are the principles that they have. This is the principle that their Shari'i view based on. And now we will talk about the misconceptions that they have to clarify it. Because, as I said, I'm targeting those who are confused about these issues. And one of the first things in relation to ISIS is the issue of al-Khilafah. The declaration of the Khilafah and being the Khalifa and the Imara. And, you know, this issue of Khilafah and declaring the Khilafah is not something new. As I said before, many people in the history of the Khawarij claim the Khilafah. But in this modern days, actually it was a shock for so many groups because none of the jihadi groups in modern days declare the Khilafah. Even Al-Qaeda, when they joined Taliban in Afghanistan, and they declare the Imara, this is an Imara Shar'iyya, a small limited, basically, area, and they claim him the Amir of this area, but they never claim to be Mullah Umar or whoever it was at that time, to be the Khalif for all the Muslims. They never asked all the Muslims in the world to be basically, they must obey that Khalifa, or they are under the command of that Khalifa. This is something only this ISIS group came up with. And as I said, that's part of the development of these ideas. And here, let's explore this concept. What's al-Khilafah actually in Islam? The way the Muslim scholars define the Khilafah. And a lot of non-Muslims also need clarification about this. Whenever you say the word Khilafah, it terrifies a lot of non-Muslims because they don't understand what that word means. Al-Khilafah is just a term equal to the word president, the Khalifa, the Caliphate, is equal to the word president, the word king, prince. That's why you have, for example, the name Al-Khalifa was not only the only name. You have Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have Al-Khalifa, you have King Malik, Al-Malik al-Salih, so and so. So these are just terms, but the word Khalifa is not something that must be held. It can be seen today in modern days in different ways. I think our time's up, and this issue need more discussion. So let's talk more about the concept of Khilafah, inshallah ta'ala, when we see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening to me and to my friends here in the studio, Ahmed and Omar. Looking forward to meet you inshallah the next episode, and I also extend my thanks to all the teams here in the studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. We made peace a symbol of ours. In the name of peace we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam.